This is a run of forest missions, a subset of all missions in Phantasy Star Online. The idea here is to do only the missions available to you without having to unlock any additional areas. Although there are some quests that visit the forest later on, we don't concern ourselves here. The primary focus is just having a short category that has a minimum amount of randomization in it. The only luck in this is pretty much whether NPCs hit or miss their attacks, and what kind of drops you get, and what the shops offer. But there are no random maps, and that makes it a pretty cool category, in my opinion. For the most part, I run this as a practice for all missions, so I might do some things that wouldn't make sense if this was like a serious category. But either way, I still set up my palette at the beginning and go straight into battle training. The name of the game here is to have Creek do as much work for us as possible. Unfortunately, I overmashed there. You don't need to talk to him an extra time there like I just did. So previously what I would do on this map is take a wide stance along the edge here to make sure the creek didn't get stuck on the boom up. What I've found is that it's actually pretty reliable just to go straight at the boomerang, straight at the switch. Every now and then creek will get stuck, but if that happens and it's devastating enough, you probably could just reset. But in all of my practice, it just doesn't happen. So here you want to get Creek up close and personal with the Monest, take out as many moth bats as possible so you can focus on the Monest. This one went pretty well, he only went for one, maybe two moth bats. Ideally you'll get him to use a heavy attack on the Monest, but this was still pretty fast. Get a free mana fluid from the drops there. That helps mostly just make sure my mag gets well fed, I guess. Creek slacked off a little bit there. So one thing I should have been doing is unequipping my regular attack. You might have seen me kick the air a few times. By unequipping attack, I can just mash the A button and not have to worry about wasting time. So here's another Monest to take out. Could be a little bit tricky. That Mothbat goes around Creek and smacks me, topples me over. This time he does a heavy attack. In fact, a pair of heavy attacks. So the Monest still goes down pretty quickly. Now I want to position myself so that Creek takes out one of the Boomas that spawns and I take out the other one. I'm standing a little bit far forward, but still in range. Unfortunately, Creek fails at his job. And this is where I realize, yeah, I never unequipped attacks, so I take it off and replace it with Soul Atomizer. In a full run, I would use Soul Atomizer later on to power through traps. Now in this room, we divide and conquer. One wolf for me, one wolf for Creek. And then 4 more appear, and we try to do 2 and 2. And that works out pretty well. Previously I would make sure Creek was near the Booma, but he finds his way without me guiding it. Now, one major change pointed out by Alex is that if I stand near the door and skip one of the dialogue prompts after the battle, So previously, if you approach the door after the battle, you get one prompt and then one more. Fortunately, we were able to skip it. Here, do the usual strategy of making sure Creek is ready to take out this wolf. Now all that's left is to take out 4 wolves and get this data capsule. Do actually a pretty poor job of picking a wolf to fight, and Creek doesn't really do me any favors. But overall, that worked out pretty well. It was a little sloppy. Creek did take out the first wolf pretty quickly, and I didn't miss any of my attacks. So now I just need to shop and hopefully get Sand and Bardo. And Bardo's in the shop. I actually want Bardo a little bit later. Sand is a little more useful earlier, but this is fine. We need Bardo by Fake and Yellow, and not having Sand is not like a critical problem, but it's nice to have. It makes dealing with sets of wolves a lot easier. Next up is claiming a stake. This quest doesn't have any real new optimizations, but it's one that there's lots of opportunities to lose time in subtle ways if you don't act optimally. First we have to find Quest Giver's father, but he's actually just in the next room. But then we'll have to go pick up some of his junk. A general optimization for anything in the forest is when Pumas are spawning, you're not able to lock onto them yet, but if you manually aim, you can shoot your fireball ahead of time and just speed things a little bit up. You saw I missed one due to not being locked on, but usually it's worth it to go for it. The advantage of having my attack unequipped is that I can mash A as I approach something, and then mash the dialogue and get through that as quickly as possible without wasting time with a kick to the air. In this room I just need to lead a few more fireballs. That one I didn't do it because I was off and I couldn't correct in time. Pre-mana fluid. Unfortunately, I wasn't watching my TP too closely there, so I had to fumble a mana fluid. So it loses a little bit of time to slow down and use a fluid right there. If I was watching, I could possibly use a fluid in one clean motion. Here I want to try to shoot Foy as the Rappy's dropping from the sky so that it hits right when it lands. I hit that, but then I failed to lock onto the Buma right next to me, so it didn't work out so well. Here there's going to be one wolf after this Rappy. Sand would be nice for getting guaranteed hit on it, but fortunately it comes right up to us. And while the Mona spawns, just check out what's in these boxes. It's our second Mana Fluid drop this quest, so we're in pretty good shape there. This guy just makes you waste your TP. Doesn't shoot any Mothmans at the beginning. I observed there that I had 13 experience to next level. Which means if I didn't miss that fireball, I would have not had to use a Mana Fluid, because I would get a TP refill on the level. Fortunately, all those Mana Fluid drops means we're not in trouble at all. Now there's just a few more things to take care of here. That Booma walked far to the side, so I missed that fireball. But these guys are more cooperative. Quickly unequip attack again, and pick up the final objective. Consider feeding my egg, but I think I decided, well, it's probably fine to give, yeah, just one in this case. I need to make sure that I have money for a tailpipe, and that's why I don't feed it anymore. So now, if nothing else, want that telepipe and also want a Zon disc. And then have a good amount of fluids for the next few quests. There's telepipe, Zon, and one Mana Fluid. Definitely wouldn't want any fewer than 4 Mana Fluids at the end of this quest, because you'll use one in Magnitude of Metal, and you want at least 3 going into Journalistic Pursuit. Strangely, I save a bunch of time in spite of all the mistakes I had. Just goes to show, run to run, you can have some large number of mistakes. Might have taken a hit in a previous quest attempt. Who knows? So this quest is pretty short, because we make use of the telepipe to skip walking through or backtracking through forest. All you have to do is find Eleanor, recruit her, then take her back right to this room. But there is a little bit of combat in between. After taking out that Booma, it's pretty safe to walk straight up to this Booma. He usually always turns to this side. I want to hang along the left wall. Go after this wolf, that's way up there. This is where Zond saves a lot of time. Because I can hit him right away and have a guaranteed hit. Those 2 Boomas line up very nicely, so I don't have to worry about lock-on. These spawns look similar to Claiming a Stake. That's kinda because they are. Just coming at it from a different angle. We use our Mana Fluid there, but even though these are the last 2 Boomas, there's not really much way around that. But it's fine. The Rampy cuts us off a little bit, but wastes just a fraction of a second, fortunately. So now I want to walk right up to Eleanor, drop the telepipe in her face, and talk to her. Hold down on the control stick to make sure I pick the right option to recruit her. If I fail to do that, I think I would end up going through the Telpipe when I pressed A the next time, instead of talking to her. I think it might be that if you lock on, well, I could be wrong, but I think I've made the mistake before where I didn't hold up and went through the Tailpipe. I'm not sure why it works that way. Anyway, since we're good on monofluids and we've got all of our technique discs, we don't need to go to the shop. We can save a bunch of time this way. I think in my all missions record, I'm already doing this trick, but I might have had to shop or something like that. So we're in and out in under 3.5 minutes. Not even any time to feed our Meg. In Journalistic Pursuit, there are some changes to my previous runs. In general, you can't rely on Null to do anything for you. But if you're paying attention and you see that she's hitting things, you can optimize around that. I'd say on average she has about a 50% chance of hitting any one of her shots. In a previous run I've actually seen her get a crit, which allows her to finish off something that you hit once with Foy. See, like in that case, if she was firing just a little bit faster, she could help finish off something for me. And to give her a chance right there, but she let me down. I re-equip my attack so I can break these 2 boxes up here. Just to have a good place to do Barda from. Null's actually halfway decent against this Monist. You can take out Mothments and get the Monist with a little bit more reliability than anything else. Completely whipped that first fireball even though you couldn't see it. So one change in strategy here is again to go straight for the switch as opposed and not worry about keeping Null safe. Even if she gets trapped here, it's not likely that she will die, because she gets plenty of invincibility frames and she has plenty of her own monoments to keep herself topped off on HP. This time though, she actually manages to slip through everything and escape. She can help out in optimizing things in this room, but again, since you can't rely on her, it's more of a luxury than a necessity. See, in this case I would have liked her to shoot at the other Booma all along, but she does a heavy attack, so she actually connects with it, strangely enough, so it did help just a bit. So there's just a little bit more of combat in this quest. This room here can be a little dicey. Optimally hit that Giga Boom right back and a Go Boom at the same time, but I have to be careful not to get hit myself. Fortunately, I didn't get pincered by the Boomazin back too much. Or too quickly, rather. The unfortunate thing is I did have to use one of the mana fluids with all the missing that I've been doing. I need about 21 TP to take out these Rappies ideally. Unfortunately, it was extra invasion, so I managed to miss twice on things that weren't even moving. But since I already had used the mana fluid anyway, it's just a time loss and not a resource lost. Now, all that we need to do to prepare for the next quest is top off our mana fluids. I'll check for slotted frames, but it doesn't really matter just for running this. But that's, again, one of the things I'm doing to keep in mind what I'd be doing for the options. I do go back and feed my mag a little bit, since I have the money, and it is a little important to get my mag to level 8 by the time I do native research. Arguably, I might have been able to defer that until later. So with all the missing that I did and that extra shop at the end, it ate into my PB lead a little bit. But there is plenty of opportunity to save time here because of an Alrappy appearing in my previous run. Alrappies are good for getting experience, but they're not so good for saving time. Normally it'll take 1 Foy or 2 Bardas to take out a Rag Rappy, but on top of that, you would need like 3 extra Foys to take out an Alrappy. And it can also mess up your timings on other things if it doesn't go down as fast as a Rag Rappy. So one new thing I try is to go for this Rappy first. Scared me a little bit because I was targeting it there for just a second. If I shot my Barda ahead, it could have ruined everything on taking those 3 out. Here I get a little too clever in trying to lead my Foy. Clean it up and don't target the box. Sometimes if you really are impatient, you'll end up shooting and hitting the box first. Angle wasn't perfect, so by the time I shot the second Barda, the trajectory meant I would aim off to the side. Normally you should only need 2 Bardas to finish those 4, but it took 3 this time. Here there's a nice little escape path left for me. unfortunately I don't get these guys to cluster particularly nicely, so I end up spending a lot of techniques to take these guys out, but it's still better than what I did on my last run. On my last run I ended up getting trapped a little bit, so I can still save time this time around. Just 2 more waves here. 2 Bardas and 2 Foys should take off these guys out if you do it right. In that case I did 4 Bardas, but it probably would be safer to do 2 Bardas and 2 Foy again. Accidentally talked to this guy again. A little mistake. And there's no need to do any shopping right now. We used... I don't even remember if we used a mana fluid, but don't need any more than we already have either way. So this is where things change up from my previous runs. I used to do native research first and then Grand Squall, but we moved Grand Squall first. The reason for this, like, you could do them in either order, honestly. This gives my Meg to have a bigger, or have a better chance of being a high enough level to give me enough mental strength to take out groups of enemies with Barda a little bit faster in native research. And you could argue you could also do that to take out things faster in this quest instead. But since I've got Bernie as a helper, it's a little bit less necessary to have that. Since he's already helping you out, being able to take out things faster yourself is less necessary. So it just seems to work out a little bit better for the fluid routing. Start of this quest is just like magnitude of metal. We'll be seeing a little bit more of forest this time around. Go out of my way to find that green box, but it's only in Monomate. Make the same mistake twice, splitting the upgrades into 2 Boomas. Now, of course, you wouldn't want to forget Bernie's. That's where the quest starts diverging from making 2 medals. You want to make sure you take this other path. It's important to make sure Bernie doesn't get caught in any of the walls. It's very easy to lose speed yourself if you touch a wall, but NPCs will often just stop in their tracks. Now, if for some reason I lost Bernie way back there and didn't notice, I can do everything in this room on my own. It's just not as fast. Ideally, I want to get Bernie to shoot the other Booma, not the one I was going for. Try to shoot at the Booma. The box steals my target. Now in Force 2 they really throw things at you. It's not just the copy-pasted magnitude of metal. Here I want to stand right here to do Bardo strats against Gobuma, Gigabuma again. And Bernie actually takes care of his side of things very quickly, and even has room to help finish my side off. I go back just to make sure Bernie's behind me. Here you only really need to defeat the wolves, but usually everything else gets in the way, so surprise wolf ruins flawless victory here. Bernie did pretty well on his own though, so didn't lose too much time, I would say. Here I want to make sure that Bernie takes out one side while I take out the other. I let him take out the Monas that doesn't spawn anything, while I can burn out the other side. Here we want to do some divide and conquer. I want to stand in a fairly precise position where he'll go after the wolves on his side and I will target the wolves on my side. Here I kind of trust Bernie to take one more shot, but he's a little slow, so I take a smack to the face. Doesn't really matter though, because I have to wait for his text anyway. It's gonna be the same idea here. I'll let Bernie take out one Momonast while I take out the other. Take that just for the experience. Here I'm hoping that Bernie would finish it off, but he decides to walk behind me instead. Bernie's weapon actually has quite a lot of damage variation, I've learned. If he rolls particularly low, a Bardo won't be enough to finish anything that he takes on those Gigabumas. Here it's caught between two heroic bears, but it doesn't matter. I don't even know if Bernie can get toppled, honestly. That would be the only danger. As long as they hit the berserker for Bernie, not for you, that's all that really matters. Unfortunately, I underestimated how far the hill bear could walk. I was expecting to get stuck on the wall or something like that. So I lose a little bit of time there. And the time from finishing off that last wolf to the fade out seems to be random. On the previous run I definitely had it like fade out right away, and then I had to wait like 2 extra seconds this time for no apparent reason. So I wouldn't anticipate any time savings overall. In theory, just in this category, taking the time to sell anything right there isn't a worthwhile use of time. So that might be an optimization to consider in the future. I had enough money to buy everything I wanted to buy. So overall, 8.5 seconds lost for all the hits I took and all the things I missed. I guess I can say it could be worse. So there's no route change within this quest, but the point of changing the route overall actually comes down to this room right here, mostly, where we fight the initial set of Goombas. Since our Meg is now level 8, we have the ability to do Voy and Barda to take out a Goomba. Which means as long as we can connect Barda on 2 things, we can save a cast. As demonstrated here. So overall that saves maybe 5 seconds, having to cast like 4 or 5 less fireballs. The other reason to do this quest a little bit later is I'm also pretty guaranteed to have enough damage to take out even Barbarous Wolves and 2 hits of Sound. If you do it a little bit earlier and your Meg isn't terribly well fed, you might only do 32 damage, which isn't enough to take out a Barbarous Wolf. In this next room, I've been thinking about how the order of the way you take out the Rappies, the order in which you do so, matters a little bit. I want to take out that one there first. That can make it, taking out the rest of them, kind of drop in an order that's easier to deal with. Trick back through here, make sure to not walk into the switch, and now we'll take out a Monest. Here the Mothman is not very cooperative. It not only is out of range of Void, but it causes me to lock onto it instead of the Monest. And then I have to spend extra time after the Monest goes on, casting Zon to finish it off. So overall lost maybe 2 seconds there. Pathetic standing here after the fight. It's not too bad. Just for this category, I start fighting within the teleporter because there's no real reason to go for any Trimate drop that the Hildebeer has. In spite of some mistakes, we get best segment by just a bit. Shows how much optimization there still is to do in BSO quests in general. because in native research there there was me taking, I would say, some slow steps with the Rappies. I don't have the Bardo strats down for the Boomas right just yet. The Monist definitely wasted my time through pretty much no fault of my own. Now Force to Sorrow is very similar, but we need Alicia to do her attacks optimally to maximize our speed. This is another area where taking the attack off your palette helps a little bit, because I can mash A as the while approaching the bear, which, since it's a moving target, can be a little awkward to press optimally sometimes. In this room, I want to focus down the wolves. These wolves will spawn Rappies, and then after the Rappies come the bear. That opens the door. Try to help out Alicia a little bit here. Fortunately, Alicia doesn't feel like helping out too much today. In this next room, this Healed Bear spawns a little bit close, which is unfortunate. If he's farther away, it's easier to deal with both of them at once. I do a pretty poor job of lighting them up, even though I normally adjust. As long as the wolves go down before the Mothmans are active, it's not too bad. And I get all the Mothmans with a little up from Alicia without taking too much time. So it's salvaged pretty well. Here I'm trying to line up Go-Boomas for Bardo strats. Fortunately, I'm standing just a little too close. Don't have my Bardo line quite correct. Alicia's not helping out too much. So at this point I'm wondering if I'm still going to PB. But for this final room, we have plenty of ways to save time if we can line up Healed Bears very optimally. These first two go out pretty fast. That's what we like to see, is Bardo from one Healed Bear hitting two, even though only one of them was at the screen at the time. Extremely fast. Almost every Bardo hit two things there. And now for this, there's no shopping to do because this is the end of the category. So instead of shopping, we just go straight to the field counter. Feed my Meg for fun anyway, so I'm setting up a file for future practice in the caves. Let's see where we clock in. Save a total of 9.2 seconds on that quest, in spite of getting smacked at least once and being not terribly optimal in some of those rooms. But hey, that's the end. This is a category that I think anyone can pick up if they've got the interest, and it's a lot shorter than any other category, so I recommend giving it a shot. All you need to do is boot up the game and have a character slot, and don't worry about getting a good time or anything like that. Just it's all about learning and having fun. Alright? See you guys next time.